Authority Act, amended the Gambling Regulatory Authority Act, and therefore the horse racing organizer means a public limited company set up with the object of organizing horse races in Mauritius. In Section 2, by deleting the definition of the horse racing organizer and replacing it by the following definition: horse racing organizer means the holder of a horse racing license. The amendment number A, bracket 3, the lottery implies the regulator will regulate promotional lotteries being conducted online via the internet. However, does the promotional lottery amount to internet betting? Is internet betting being allowed? These are relevant questions that need to be answered, and it seems that everything is lopsided in favor of the gentleman whom I mentioned. Mr. Deputy Speaker, till date, we have to remind the House that the jury issued a tender to appoint a management company to set up the rules governing internet betting activities. Of course, we have to know what is the status of this tender and who was appointed. Let me conclude by referring to the Medical Council Act being amended in relation to registration of those who have graduated or are going to graduate from the University of Mauritius and would be entitled to temporary registration. Now, then they will have full registration. But let me make an appeal to the Minister to see to it that there is a differential treatment, and that should be extended or given to Mauritian doctors. And for those foreigners who are here working in hospitals but who have a full registration, may I appeal to the Minister that there should be on a limited registration, as is currently being done in many countries in Ireland and UK. The Pharmacy Act, yes, we welcome the amendment being brought, but there are lessons to be learned and drawn from allocation of contracts. I'm not going to go into the high-perform saga in respect of quality, potency, and price of drugs purchased. In the past, we used to have a manufacturing plant, which used to manufacture drugs. And I'm sure some of us would recall that the drugs manufactured were of poor quality. Forget about bioassay, forget about the relevant equipment which should have been available, forget about samples which should have been assessed elsewhere. But you know, I recall there was an MP who brought a glass of water, purchased one of those drugs, and it was supposed to be a soluble drug, drop it into the glass of water, but it never dissolved. So my appeal to the Minister is to take all necessary precautions, to err on the principle of caution. It's all right to bring amendments to appropriate legislation, but at the end of the day, we have to deliver. If we want to be a brand name, and if we want to be a destination of repute, and if ever there is room for export of drugs, we cannot be termed as laggards. Either we are professionally, we bring in those who have the acumen to do the job, because at the end of the day, visibility and tangibility matters. I hope the Minister will respond to some of the questions I have put, and I'm sure that the finance bill, though many of the clauses in the bill are for administrative purposes, but there are some issues which have been raised, of fundamental issues, in relation to the right of an individual of a Mauritian-born, man or woman, who are equal before the law, but there cannot be treatment which go against this equality. Before the law, we're all equal, and I sincerely hope that in relation to the widows who married under the Family Council law, certainly rights and obligations will be complied with. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are all equal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Thank you for giving the floor to address the House tonight on the Finance Bill. The introduction of the Finance Bill makes provisions for amendments to various legislation to support the implementation of the measures announced in the budget. Let me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, start with the increase in pension for persons aged 65. Now, for those aged 60 and above, they have already been paid the increase in basic retirement pension of 1,000 rupees by my ministry. So their pension has now been increased from 9,000 to 10,000. Clause 67 of the Finance Bill is proposing to amend the Social Contribution and Social Benefit Act 2021. So a retirement benefit of 1,000 rupees will be paid to persons above 65. So they will now be paid a pension of 11,000 instead of 9,000. Subparagraph 3A of Part 3 concerns Social Contribution and Social Benefits Act, that is the disability allowance. A disability allowance of 2,500 will now be provided for persons suffering from a disability of between 40% and 59%. As we know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, so far only persons suffering from a disability of 60% or more benefit from the basic invalidity pension. Those with a disability of less than 60% are not eligible to any disability allowance except for social aid. Social aid, we know, is means tested. As such, not everyone can benefit from it. So in a spirit of fairness, we have thought it well. We have broadened the category of persons with disabilities who will benefit from a financial assistance. So which categories are we talking of? Part 1 and Part 2 of the 6th schedule provide us with a list of the type of disability which will be covered. So Part 1, loss of arm at elbow, loss of arm between wrist and elbow, loss of hand at wrist, loss of 4 fingers and thumb of one hand, loss of leg between knee and hip, and loss of leg between knee. We have given, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have given priority to persons who suffer from loss of any member. We have had to decide who are those who would benefit the disability allowance as their health would not improve at all, whereas when we talk about non-communicable disease, it is likely to be treated and cured in some cases. Now, Part 2 refers to persons suffering from paralysis of the whole limb with some movement, and paraplegia and hemiplegia with some movement, and grand mal epilepsy. The persons with disabilities falling under Part 1 of this schedule will benefit from the disability allowance on a permanent basis, so they will not have to come on the board each and every time. So this is, I must say, a significant step forward. Those under Part 2, which I have listed earlier, will benefit from a disability allowance for a period of 2 years, which of course is renewable, but they will have they will be called on the board and they will have to be examined. So as you can see, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we have tried to the best of our ability to ease the hardship of disabled persons by providing them with assistance on a permanent basis as far as possible. I'm sure that these two parts of the finance bill mean a lot to persons with disabilities. Now they know that, that some kind of assistance, some kinds of support is there for them. Of course, we need to put in place a proper mechanism for assessment. I'm here referring to page 116 of the finance bill, clause 30A, 3A. So the finance bill makes reference to section 33 of the Social Contribution and Social Benefits Act and section 34 of the National Pensions Act. Section 34 refers to assessment and determination of claims under the National Pensions Act. So all applications will be assessed by the medical board, provided that the application is accompanied by a medical certificate attesting the medical condition of the person. Another amendment being brought to clause 50 of the finance bill concerns the refund of the recycling fee under the National Savings Funds Act. Recycling fee, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is usually paid at the time of retirement where the money has not been used to pay transitional unemployment benefits. Some persons, however, retire at the age of 60. They have to wait until 65 to be paid. So again, in a spirit of fairness, to be fair to them, we have decided to refund the recycling fee as from the age of 60 instead of 65. So a survey has been carried out at the level of my ministry, and it was found that around 135 persons who have reached the age of 60 will now be paid the recycling fee. Now let me now touch upon an important amendment. Honorable one member on the other side, Honorable Reza, has talked lengthily on it, the tardy registration of Muslim religious marriage. So before coming to the tardy registration of Muslim religious marriage, let me say a few words on the basic retirement pension and the basic benefit under the CSG. Now, I think the Honourable Member should differentiate between basic retirement pension and retirement benefit under CSG. Under the National Pensions Act, basic pensions are paid as from the age of 60, while under the Social Contribution and Social Benefits Act, payments are made on retirement age of 65. For me, this differentiation is very important when we talk about the amendment which we are bringing in the finance bill. Now, to reply to the Honourable Member on Muslim widows' pension, the Honourable Member mentioned that there is no avenue for Muslim widows religiously married between, if I have heard you well, between 1987 to December 1990. You said there is no avenue for those married between 1987 to December 1990. Well, it appears that the Honourable Member does not know there has been changes. Widows married between 1987 to 1990 are benefiting from the surviving partner's allowance. There is a remedy. They are being paid the surviving partner's allowance, which is of the same amount as the basic widow's pension. So they are deriving a benefit of 10,000 rupees now. So this has been taken care of. I will urge honourable member to go and check, and then we can discuss at a later stage. So for me, there is no qualm. These periods has already been taken care of. Now, another issue. The honourable member is comparing a widow who is civilly married to a widow of a religious marriage. So it seems that honourable member wants to convey that we are discriminating against Muslim widows. Not at all, Mr. Deputy Speaker, not at all. He even said that we are not recognizing them as widows. But in fact, this is what we are doing. I strongly disagree with the honourable member. We are neither discriminating nor refusing to recognize them as widows. In fact, we are the one bringing amendments to make sure that they are acknowledged as widows and they are given their rights as widows. On the contrary, you are the one who have done nothing for years. You have had the opportunity. Some members have been in Parliament for 10 years. So, what have you done? Tell me, what have you done? You have been in Parliament 10 years, and now you are saying that we are doing not enough. So be serious. At least acknowledge the effort of our government. The reality, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is that nothing, I repeat it, nothing was done by any government before us for years, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, believe me, discrimination is not the doing of this government. Mr. Deputy Speaker, discrimination is the doing of the members on the other front. So it is very unfair to come to this chamber and say that, you know, we should have done this, we should have done that, but you have done nothing for years. Some Muslim widows were not eligible to the basic widow's pension due to non-registration of their religious marriage with the Muslim Family Council. I repeat it again, no government has dared to touch upon this matter. In fact, it is an issue which arose. It is not an issue which arose yesterday. It is a matter which is there for some years now. Same as you remember, Mr. Deputy Speaker, same as the basic invalidity pension, which was denied to children with disabilities aged less than 15 years. I think all members of this House remember this injustice. So we did correct this injustice in 2016. Same as the basic invalidity pension, where, you know, some children were deprived of their pension because of an age criteria. So we understand the concern of the Muslim ladies. Our Prime Minister has shown very strong will to correct this injustice. And through the finance bill, we have put, I say clearly, we have put the interests of Muslim widows at the heart of our decision. At least acknowledge that our government has had the courage to address this issue, which has been left unattended for years. Mr. Speaker, I must say it has not been an easy process, you know, to be able to bring this particular amendment. However, we did not give up. It is, I can say it in the chamber today, it is something that has bothered me for personally. What we need Mr. Deputy Speaker, is action, not talking. So I did sense a particular urgency in coming up with an action to address this particular issue. So first and foremost, we have had to understand the whole issue. And believe me, Mr. Deputy Speaker, it is a very, very complex issue. You know, because some years have been taken care of, some years have been left unattended. So some spouses have been married, some spouses have more than one spouses. So very complex issue. So first and foremost, we have had to understand the whole issue. Then I started discussions, consultation with the Prime Minister's Office, the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Finance, the Civil Status Office, and the Muslim Family Council. So following these working sessions, we have been able to work out an amendment to address the hardship of Muslim widows in the finance bill. Now, to enable the tardy registration of Muslim marriage, amendments are therefore being brought to the National Pension Act and the Civil Status Act at page 93. Regulations 4A is being introduced in the Civil Status Muslim Family Council Regulation 2005. These new regulations will allow the surviving female spouse of a Muslim religious marriage celebrated between 1st January 1982 and 13 November 1987 and between 1st December 1990 and 31st August 2022 to make an application to the Muslim Family Council for the tardy registration of her marriage. All applications for tardy registrations have to be made in a prescribed form not later than 31st December 2022. We have had to include a cutoff date. Now, once the Muslim religious marriage celebrated during the above-mentioned periods are registered with the Muslim Family Council, the widows can make an application to my ministry for a surviving spouse allowance. In this respect, an amendment is being brought to the National Pension Act for the introduction of a surviving spouse allowance under a new section 4A. Applications for a surviving spouse allowance would have to be made to my ministry in a prescribed form within 3 months of the date of registration of a religious marriage. The application must also be accompanied by a certificate from the Muslim Family Council certifying that the religious marriage has been registered. I, however, wish to mention that where a person contracts a civil marriage and a Muslim religious marriage with one female spouse and also contracts a Muslim religious marriage with other female spouses, the Muslim Family Council will only register the religious marriage with the spouse to whom he is civilly married. The other Muslim religious marriage cannot be registered with the Muslim Family Council. So, furthermore, it is good to note that our government has gone one step further with respect to registration of religious marriage. We are bringing amendments to the Civil Status Muslim Religious Council Regulations 2005 to extend the deadline for registration of religious marriage from 7 days to 21 days. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I am happy that for the finance bill, the situation is being resolved and I think to believe something is to make it happen. So, 1 second.
Take your time.
Yes. Now, Mr. Speaker, with regards to the division in equal proportion among the spouses, well, we have adopted, Mr. Deputy Speaker, dividing in equal proportion among the spouses the allowance is nothing new. So we have adopted, we have had to work out a proper mechanism. So we have adopted the same principle as for the payment of contributory widows' pension. So according to there is a regulation. So according to regulations 7A and B of the National Pensions Contributory Benefits Regulations 1978, where a man dies and leaves 2 or more widows, the contributory widows' pension should be equally divided among the widows. So we have had to work out on a proper mechanism to be fair to all, to be fair to all widows, in fact, in the country. So we have thought it proper to apply the same thinking. So, Mr. Speaker, for me, this amendment is something very close to my heart. I am happy that on this side of the House we have been able to address it and to address it properly and see to it that those Muslim widows are now recognized. So, Mr. Deputy Speaker, now let me come to clause 65 of the Finance Bill 2022. Section 62E of the Social Integration and Empowerment Act is being amended by inserting after the words financial aid the words excluding the invalid basic pension under the National Pensions Act. It is good to highlight that as the law stands now, all income and social transfers derived by a household are taken into account to determine the eligibility of an applicant under the Social Register of Mauritius. So, as such, even the basic invalidity pension, which is provided mainly to meet the medical expenses of a person, is calculated as an income. So, in my view, this is not fair because we all know that this invalidity pension is not used by people to upgrade their standard of living. As such, they were being left out of the system. We cannot deny financial assistance to someone just because he's deriving a basic invalidity pension to meet his medical expenses. So some things need to be done. So again, I'm happy that now we will exclude the invalid basic pension to determine the eligibility of an applicant. So with the amendment to the Social Integration and Empowerment Act, the basic invalidity pension of 10,000 rupees will no longer be calculated as a source of income when assessing the eligibility of an applicant so that he can be on the Social Register of Mauritius. Now, through the Finance Bill, to conclude, Mr. Deputy Speaker, through the Finance Bill, we are translating all the measures announced in the budget 2022-2023 into reality. All these amendments show that the welfare of our citizens is at the center of all our government's policies and programs. We have made a commitment to our people and we are doing our best to honor it. I have no doubt that with hard work, dedication, the government will surely be able to provide a better future to our citizens. Of course, now with the voting of the financial bill, the The smooth implementation is the most important part. I'm confident that each and every ministry will see to it that all the measures announced in the budget are being fully implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll break for 1 hour.